the report. Speaker, it is true that we are living in difficult times economically. That we must acknowledge, all of us. And that is, the Speaker, it is also true that our counties are seriously suffering. That there are services that are being rendered in counties and for which there is no money to pay. Business people, Mr. Speaker, in the counties are counting their losses. Employees, staff in the counties are also suffering. Some counties, Mr. Speaker, have actually almost ground to a halt. And so, Mr. Speaker, it is in the context of that background that we are debating this recommendation by the Mediation Committee to agree on a figure that, in the wisdom of the committee, because we gave the committee the mandate, then the figure in their own wisdom then is reasonable. Mr. Speaker, allow me to say a few things before I make a declaration on my position on whether I'll support or I don't support. One, Mr. Speaker, as we debate this report, it shall be remembered that our counties, most of them, have actually come under the capture of sitting governors. That governors have actually become the stumbling block for success and progress in their own devolved units. I say this, Mr. Speaker, because having listened carefully to what almost every senator said, there is a common denominator when it comes to the behavior and accountability of a majority of the governors in this country. So, Speaker, it should be remembered, and this is for members to take note, that in fact it is the business of Parliament to share revenue amongst the two levels of government, the national government and the county governments. And that, Mr. Speaker, that the decision of Parliament on how that money is shared must never be influenced by the plans of the national government, the aspirations of the national government. It must be a very objective decision made by Parliament, because both governments belong to this country. I want to say two things, Mr. Speaker, about the utilization of this money that we want to devolve to our counties, especially in the health sector. We agree that health is a devolved function, but, Mr. Speaker, I don't know of any county, and I stand to be corrected, Mr. Speaker, I don't know of any county that can stand here and say that their health sector is in good shape. I don't know of any county. At least I can speak for my county. I can speak for counties in my region. So, Speaker, health has become a major, major challenge to counties and county governments. From basic lack of infrastructure, even for health facilities, to drugs, to equipment, to personnel. Mr. Speaker, I will be recommending, as a senator of Kitui, that there will be need for a national conversation around the mess in the health sector. I say that, Mr. Speaker, because everybody aspires to achieve UHC, universal health coverage. And it's a beautiful thing. Everybody wants us to get there. But, Mr. Speaker, truth be told, if we don't fix the basics, then this talk about UHC is just empty talk. We must have the courage, Mr. Speaker, to ask ourselves what exactly is the problem with our health sector in all counties in this country, and even at the national level. The Speaker, access to affordable health care, to me, where I sit, is actually a basic human right. A right that must be afforded every Kenyan in every corner of this country. And so, the Speaker, even as we debate the money that we are going to be devolving to our counties, it will be important to also, as a Senate and as individual senators, to scrutinize the percentage of county budgets that goes into healthcare. And do this in liaison with our respective county assemblies. Mr. Speaker, this is important. And I was having a conversation with a neighboring county to Kitui, and the governor from that county said something that was very, very profound, Mr. Speaker. That if healthcare collapses in one county, then the ripple effect is felt in all the other frontline counties. Because, the Speaker, you and I share a border. If Meru health sector is dysfunctional, then the effects of that dysfunction will be felt in Tharaka Nithi, it will be felt in Kitui, it will be felt in Embu. The Speaker, concerted efforts must be made to ensure the success of the health sector in our counties. And there is no magic to it, Mr. Speaker. The only way of doing this is to make sure that governors and their governments allocate sufficient resources, and those resources are properly used to roll out programs in the health sector. The Speaker, the other matter that I want to talk about is just a general pilferage of resources, county resources. The outright disregard to accounting procedures in most of our counties. The Speaker, I have had a senator here lamenting twice, but maybe 3 times, that their governor or their government caused to be voided if mistransactions 1,600 times. The Speaker, some things the Speaker say, some things can only happen in Kenya. How can you void if mistransactions 1,600 times and pretend that you're doing a clean job? And then the matter is taken to EACC and other investigating agencies, and somehow a way out is found. Mr. Speaker, I come from a county in Kitui where an accountant would just sign off audit reports that they have not prepared and submit them to the office of the Auditor General. And when mistakes and outright evidence of theft is detected, they simply say, we did not prepare those reports. Somebody else prepared, we were asked to sign, because the person who prepared is not authorized to sign. Mr. Speaker, you know, there is a casualness in handling of county resources that must be stopped. Mr. Speaker, our governors must know, if they don't know, they must know that they don't own the counties in which they serve. That they are actually just stewards of public resources. And that it is expected of them to be vigilant and act responsibly, Mr. Speaker, in the management of those resources. So, Speaker, I say this knowing pretty well that the framers of our Constitution and the concept of devolution, there was, Mr. Speaker, an intention on the part of the framers of the Constitution that, Mr. Speaker, the issue of resources is supposed to be organized in such a way that county governments must not perpetually just rely on disbursements from the national exchequer. That they should look for revenue streams within their counties without necessarily, Mr. Speaker, overburdening the local communities, but to raise sufficient funds to be able to carry out basic functions. But, Mr. Speaker, the concern that I have, and I'm very sure it is the concern of a lot of other senators here, is that instead of using own source revenue streams, Mr. Speaker, to enrich county revenue, to carry out basic county functions, a lot of these governments, Mr. Speaker, are using own source revenue streams as avenues for self-enrichment. Mr. Speaker, I come from a rain deficit region, an arid and semi-arid area, Mr. Speaker. A region that we don't grow coffee or tea or any other known cash crop. But, Mr. Speaker, I come from a region that is rich in other resources that bring revenue to our county. We have the best river sand from the region where I come from. So, Speaker, I would dare say, though I don't have the facts, but I do dare say that perhaps a big percentage of the construction that takes place in the Nairobi City County, the river sand used, comes from Ukambani. And, Mr. Speaker, it doesn't come cheap. It is expensive. But, Mr. Speaker, governors have used river sand harvesting as a way of enriching themselves and their cronies at the expense of the communities around which the sand is harvested, at the expense, Mr. Speaker, of the county revenues of Kitui and the region. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this, that as the Bible says, the time has come and now is, Mr. Speaker. I want to say, as the Senator of Kitui County, I think that time has come. That we will no longer sit back, Mr. Speaker, and watch our resources being plundered for self-enrichment. We will not sit back with the Speaker and watch as our riverbeds, Mr. Speaker, are being turned into barren bedrocks, Mr. Speaker. We shall not watch the Speaker and see as people neighboring rivers where the sand is being harvested are impoverished day in, day out, and some people, a few people in the Speaker, are just lining their pockets. The Speaker, this must stop. The other issue, the Speaker, is the issue of charcoal burning. The Speaker, when I was growing up, we used to have significantly almost sufficient forest cover in the mountains and the hills around Kitui. Today, Mr. Speaker, much of that forest cover has been cut down completely, Mr. Speaker, and people are burning charcoal and selling to urban centers. We are precipitating the process of turning our region into a desert. And the people that do this, they do it, Mr. Speaker, with their interests, purely with their interests at heart, without caring a thing about the present and future generations' ability to benefit from those resources. The Speaker, as we send money to counties for them to be able to carry out functions under devolution, this House must also expect, Mr. Speaker, that the on-sales revenue generated by counties also becomes part of the resources that are used to enrich and better the lives of the people in those counties. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, governors must also become a little bit more innovative. Mr. Speaker, it is true and it is not right that every so often there are delays in the disbursements of money from the exchequer to counties. But the Speaker, the other truth of the matter is that eventually, this money is disbursed to counties. And this money is disbursed into banks, commercial banks. When these commercial banks receive money for counties, Mr. Speaker, these monies are used by commercial banks, Mr. Speaker, to do some lending. Mr. Speaker, governors must also be a little bit more innovative and ensure that they get into agreements with commercial banks operating within their counties, Mr. Speaker, so that they have standing orders that on every 26th or 27th of every month, every member of staff in the counties are paid their dues, whether the money has been credited to their account or not, because eventually that money will come. And these banks, Mr. Speaker, do a lot of business, again, with county monies. Mr. Speaker, I want to conclude by saying that, yes, the Senate would have wanted to see 400 billion taken to counties, but now, Mr. Speaker, the available amount that the
Give him 1 minute.
Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
But the rights were already very systematic in warning you on your timing.
Mr. Speaker, but the trail of thought was also doing other things in me. So let me just conclude by saying that, yes, Mr. Speaker, we would have wanted to see 400 billion